That face you make when you just sat here and recorded this album review for the last 20 minutes and the sound wasn't on. Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. I hope that you're having a great day. My name is Justin. Make sure the sound is on this time. And today I'm giving you guys my album review of Genesis, Selling England by the Pound. This is their 5th studio album, released in 1973. Of course, as with most of my album reviews, I will link a playlist down below, and you can listen to my first thoughts and initial reactions to each of the songs on this album. But without further ado, let's go! This album easily represents a peak for the band, an artistic zenith where they reach the mountaintops of songwriting, musicianship. Every single member in the band is brilliantly heard. The album contains almost a storybook-like quality, with each track further demonstrating the strengths of the group. It feels like a proper evolution for the band as well. For example, the pastoral expressions and textures that they built in previous albums, such as Trespass, now evolve with classical flourishes and awesome performances all around. The album also has a really incredible flow and balance to it, with each of the longer songs succeeded and preceded by shorter tracks. It's just a nice way of counterweighing each of the tracks in the album and making the album very digestible. It actually feels like a full course meal in this way, with your hors d'oeuvres and appetizers and your main course and dessert. And I think it's also worth mentioning the production specifically on this album, which is done by John Burns, who had actually previously produced their album Foxtrot, but it's here where he really perfected his art. Power is brought up where power is needed, and subtlety is there when subtlety is needed. Every member is represented true and well, and I think it would be remiss if I didn't mention his name. The album opens up with quite a soup and salad combination with Dancing with the Moonlit Night. The album being introduced with Peter's solemn questioning of asking where his country lies. And you gotta love, first of all, that dirge-like melody that he comes up with, just singing that. And then the slow introduction of each of the band members slowly being brought in as like a procession. Hackett with his very quaint and yet moving guitar line, Tony's rich piano textures and Phil's spirited drumming, and Mike's bass just kind of tiptoeing precariously throughout this track ultimately make this a classic opener. Hackett really shows off and takes off on this track with his guitar skills as well, showing just how much his guitar playing has evolved and blossomed throughout the years. And I feel like it's really on this track where he demonstrates just how far he's come as well. I love the sunburst moments of mellotron and drums around 350. It's like, it gives me tingles. I like how it sets up another verse, and it's like a little climax, a little petit mort before moving forward with the song. The solos are meaningful and they're always leading somewhere, naturally progressing the song, not feeling forced, just moving the music along very well. And it just comes at a very welcome pace. This is, as I mentioned, just a very classic opener. Speaking of the next song, I actually do have to mow the lawn shortly. And I don't know if it's because I actually enjoy mowing the lawn in some meditative way, or if because this is just a banger of a song, but I Know What I Like in Your Wardrobe is just an awesome follow-up to the previous track. Hackett's hypnotic sitar just lays it down gently. The loose percussion, the thrill, and the catchiness of the chorus. I sing it everywhere I go. I love Mike's bass playing in here, as he's allowed the freedom to kind of move in between the notes and move between the verses. Also, I just want to say, how can you not love the 1976 live video with Phil doing the vocals here? I mean, his tambourine solo is to die for. It's quite a sight. He is just a man of many hats. What is there really to say about Firth of Fifth that either hasn't been said or I haven't said before? I mean, that is a masterpiece. This is easily, to me, one of Genesis' top 5 tracks that I've listened to, at least at this point. I would put this one in the same category as Supper's Ready, for example. And even though it doesn't have a 20-minute runtime, it's just as effective in everything that it's conveying to us. I love Tony's opening piano concerto, played so rich and playfully. I mean, it's just a really luxurious introduction to the song. The steady verse gently explodes, being dense and light at the same time. The melodies have a very natural and breathing-like motion to them. It moves from soft climaxes to gentle cascades. The fairy tale-like flute solo fading into the piano interlude halfway. Like, this song just has a lot of magic to it. Speaking of magic, Hackett's guitar solo in here. Not only is this like a top 5 Genesis track, but Hackett's guitar solo, just, what is there to say? It is emotional, it is powerful, but not only is he powerful in that solo, but also the band around him. I think that gets lost sometimes when it comes to solos. Like, what is the band doing? Are they just providing backing melodies and beats for him? Or are they playing their part too? Phil accenting each note with ease, the bass pedals, of course, shaking the walls and just bringing down mountains. Mike rocks happily alongside Hackett. I mean, all of them are carrying a certain emotional weight. It's just that Hackett takes the lead charge in that moment. The song once again opens up very nicely, as if coming out of a tunnel, and finishing us off with a final verse. Speaking of the balance of which I mentioned before on this album, coming off of Firth of Fifth, we come into More Fool Me, which is just a very gentle piece of sentimentality. It's a delicate and very tasty palate cleanser, resting us from our previous travels. Great lead by Phil and fantastic harmonies in there as well. They work so well together, and I think this is a perhaps undervalued and underrated song when it comes to Genesis. It may not be one you listen to on its own when you come to this album, but it's necessary in the album, and I think it's incredibly memorable. It pushes the album along, and it moves the music along with, as I mentioned, just some very nice sentimentality, and it has some very emotional and effective guitar. Out of sentimentality and into the marching band, we move into the Battle of Epping Forest. This song shows to me why Phil is considered one of the great drummers. He is just rocking on this one. Also showing off is Peter, who gets to kind of stretch his dramatic and theatrical wings as he carries this narrative of the battle, and he shows off different characters with his vocal stylings. It's almost like he's audibly changing costumes as he, switches from character to character. I love the jazzy shift in the drumming, the short and buzzy synths that Tony weaves in with. And I know at first I didn't really love this song. One of my complaints was that it was just too wordy. And it is a wordy song, like, no doubt. But I do think that they actually carry it very well in this track, and it feels necessary. I mean, did I really say before that I felt there was too much Peter? Because saying that out loud, it just doesn't sound right. There's a lot of movements here, and I feel like they're not playing conservative. They're actually very liberal as they move and as they throw in every single ingredient into the pot here. But as I mentioned, I think that it comes together very well. My personal favorite moment in this particular track is the church section. I mean, just the enigmatic subtlety of the music there. Peter, I love his kind of darker tones and his fast pace, his quickening and hurried pace. I think this is also a fantastic track in the way that it brings comedic elements and humorous elements from their music and mixes them with convincing musicianship and songwriting. And some of the beats and the hits here even remind me a little bit of Zappa's music, in which he would use certain hits to accentuate musical timing and comedic timing. Coming off of the battle, we move into the aftermath of After the Ordeal, and this is once again a nice return to the pastoral guitar textures, the piano that clears the smoke from the previous fights. I think it's sometimes in these simpler songs that you can hear just how effective the band were at building and creating melodies. And it's the same melodic touch that would carry the band and make them titans in the pop world, just the same as they are and were in the progressive world. Hackett just elegantly and anthemically cries out, sings out with the guitar, proclaiming sought after glory and glory lost, empty victories, and mourning the loss. You can feel all of that simply from his guitar playing, and then the entrance of the flute is just icing on the cake. Now, dessert is something to be looked forward to at the end of a meal, and I think that Cinema Show proves that to be effective. I like once the band comes in how pleasant it is to listen to. There's a really nice moment, there's a little break, a couple minutes in with the piano, guitar, and flute that to me is very reminiscent of their sound that they had on Trespass. It's a fleeting and brief moment, but it's gorgeous, and I think that it's worth noting. Now, I'll be the first to admit that from 550 on, I have a little bit of mixed feelings on this one. Now, what I mean is that I enjoy the change overall, and most of it, I enjoy Tony's choosings of the sounds. I enjoy a little bit of the soloing, but some of it just feels kind of ill-fitting and unnecessary. There's another one of those cloudburst moments where it just feels like a heavenly calling fills the air with energy and light. But at the same time, I feel like some of the soloing just exists just to kind of be there. It doesn't move the music along or tell the story the same way I felt that other solos or other moments in other tracks have done so effectively. It's really easy to see why this is one of many fans' favorite tracks and favorite songs on the album and favorite songs in general. It's really easy to see that. But if I'm being true and I'm being honest, I enjoy parts of the song, but it's not like one of my favorites. Perfectly coming off of this and perfectly succeeding as the final track on the album, Isle of Plenty is just so perfectly timed. One, I get excited because it's a very happy return for me to that simple and quaint melodic line from Hackett in Moonlit Night, which is one of my favorite moments on the album. But now it's energized and enlivened with Mellotron, intricate drum work from Phil. I like the echoes of psychedelia in the vocals as we go down this grocery shopping list. It's a perfectly fitting conclusion for the album. So anyways, those were just a couple of my thoughts on each of the songs in the album. But now let's get into my favorite moments, my favorite lyrics, and my song rankings. So my favorite moments on the album, so here's the thing. There were too many favorite moments, so I was only able to whittle it down to 3. Hope you don't mind. My 3 favorite moments on the album are Peter's opening in Moonlit Night, Hackett's guitar solo in Firth of Fifth, and the church section in Epping Forest. Like, no, really, like, I wrote it down. Like, you guys can see, I wrote it, I really wrote it down. And as I wrote there, take your pick. They are all just fantastic moments. I can't help it. My favorite lyrics on the album. So this is an interesting one because I actually don't have any favorite lyrics on the album. Now, don't take that to mean as I didn't like any of the lyrics or I think the writing was bad or anything like that, because that is far from the truth. No, I think it's actually really good. But none of the lyrics connected with me on an emotional level to make me feel or say those are my favorite lyrics. And I wasn't going to force myself to like some few lines or a verse just to put it here on the video. So I like the writing, but none of it hit me on that emotional level. The same way the music does. Like the music, that's all I need. So since I'm not going to have that section, let's do like a random section. Let's have a star member. Who would I give the golden star to in the band? Whose performance would I say just like is a highlight? And if I had to do that, I would give that gold star to Steve Hackett. As I mentioned, you just hear how he has blossomed and evolved from Nursery Crime, Foxtrot, and just bloomed here. Every note he plays is gorgeous, filled with meaning, has something to say, and his technique proves it. And actually, if you look in the book, Genesis, Every Album, Every Song on track, if you look at the section for this album, the band was describing the process overall as really difficult in recording this album. But listen to what Hackett says here, okay? Hackett recalls simply enjoying being the guitarist, contributing riffs and solos to the songs. So he wasn't worried about the pressures and the troubles of recording the album. He was just enjoying playing the guitar and playing the music. And you can feel that. That's why he gets the star. And then my song rankings for the album are as follows. Firth of Fifth, Moonlit Night, I Know What I Like, After the Ordeal, Battle of Epping Forest, More Fool Me, Isle of Plenty, and Cinema Show. It's really easy to see why this is a titan in the Mount Rushmore of progressive rock. It's easy to see why many consider Genesis at the top of their game, and this is notably a musical peak for the band. And I feel like this is where they got all of the ingredients just right. Anyways, I hope that you enjoyed my review. Hope that you enjoyed your time here. This is my second time going through the lines and going through the review. But once again, I appreciate you just clicking on this video. I hope that you got this far and hope that you enjoyed it. You're more than welcome to share the video, like, subscribe, all of that cool stuff. You can support the channel on Patreon. If you like, I even got merchandise now and shirts. So, you know, if you'd like to get a shirt, I got something right here for you. Those are below. But otherwise, just thank you for being here. Comment with your favorite moments and lyrics and all of that cool stuff. And I hope that I'll see you tomorrow on whatever we do next. But for now, have a great night. Have a beautiful day, and I'll see you tomorrow.